Have you ever stopped to think about how writing, something that started as just a practical tool, turned into one of our most powerful art forms? Today, we're going to dive into that incredible journey, from the purely functional to the profoundly beautiful.
So let's start with a simple question. What's the real difference between a grocery list and a timeless poem? I mean, they both use words, right? But one is totally useless the second you've got your milk and eggs, while the other? It can stick with you for your entire life. So what happened? How did writing make that massive leap?
To figure that out, we've got to go all the way back to the beginning. Back to the humble start of the alphabet.
And you might find this kind of wild, but the grand sweeping idea of literature actually comes from a super simple Latin word, litera. And you know what that means? It just means a letter of the alphabet. That's it, one single letter.
Yep, that's right. In the beginning, literature had nothing to do with art. It was all about function. It literally just meant you were literate, that you knew how to read and write. It was a skill, a tool for learning, not for crafting masterpieces.
So from those single letters, we built this huge world of functional writing that honestly is all around us every single day. And we call this world text. Just think about it for a second. A road sign points you in the right direction. A technical manual shows you how to put something together. A contract spells out the rules. A tweet gives you a bite-sized update. A receipt proves you bought something. All of these, they're just text doing its job.
So what's the common thread here? Well, a text is basically any string of symbols, where the number one job is just utility. The whole point is to get something done, to send data, give you instructions, or just state the facts. And once that job is over, the text has done what it came to do.
But then, something amazing started to happen. Writing began to do more than just its job. It started becoming art. And that, right there, was the turning point. That's when writing became literature.
So what was the spark? It was a shift in intent. Writers started caring not just about what they were saying, but how they were saying it. Suddenly, the goal wasn't just to deliver a message anymore, but to create a real experience for the reader.
Here's a great way to think about it. A text informs, but literature evokes. A car manual will inform you how the engine works, right? But a story about a road trip, well, that evokes the feeling of the wind, the sound of the engine, that sense of absolute freedom. See the difference? Information versus experience.
You know, literary folks have a brilliant word for how this works: defamiliarization. It's this artistic trick of using language in such a fresh, creative way that it forces us to see totally ordinary things as if we're seeing them for the very first time. It just shakes us out of our everyday autopilot view of the world.
Okay, so now that we've got these two big ideas, let's put them side by side and really nail down the distinction between text and literature.
Now, this is probably the single most important difference. With text, like a simple exit sign, the language is transparent. You're supposed to look right through the word to get the meaning instantly. But with literature, the language is opaque. You're actually meant to stop and look at the words themselves, to enjoy the rhythm, the word choice, the clever metaphor. The words are the point.
Let's break this down even more. First up, purpose. Text is all about utility. Literature is about an aesthetic feeling. Then there's longevity. Text is usually temporary, disposable, like yesterday's news. Literature? It's built to last. For interpretation, text really wants you to get one clear meaning. Literature, on the other hand, comes alive with multiple meanings and interpretations. And finally, their cultural role. Text is kind of like the everyday fabric of our lives. But literature, that's the grand architecture of a culture, holding its biggest stories and ideas.
So, this all leads to our final big question. If texts are basically disposable, why do we cherish literature? Why do these great stories stick around for so long?
I love this quote. It just says it all perfectly. A news article from, say, 1952 might be interesting for a historian, but for us, it's old news. But a poem about love or a novel about betrayal from that very same year, that can feel just as raw and relevant today as the day it was written.
And here's why. It's because literature hooks into permanent human emotions, not temporary facts. The politics and technology of ancient Rome are long gone, but the feelings of love, jealousy, ambition, and grief in their stories, those are the exact same emotions we all feel today. That's its real superpower. So if you're going to remember one thing, let it be this. Text gives you the coordinates, the facts and instructions you need to get through your day. But literature gives you the map to the huge, complicated, and amazing territory of your own inner world.
So we'll leave you with a question to chew on.
Think about a story that's really stuck with you, one you've never forgotten. What map did it give you? Thanks for joining us.